Okay, so, as I promised, now will be the Orcs of the Misty Mountains, and as I will explain, they are my least favourite faction in this mod. Okay, so, why are the Misty Mountains Orcs my least favourite faction? Well, to start with, just look at their roster. It's not the most full in the game. It's perhaps the most limited. I don't really think there is another faction with as few units as they have. And one of these units you will never be allowed to use, and that is of course the Balrog. Now the Balrog, you can't use him mainly for technical reasons because he will crash the game pretty much any time you try and use him. But the rest of the units they have just aren't good enough to really be competitive in most situations, even though they do have better archers than Gundabad, which are an equivalent faction really. Gundabad have a few more options when it comes to their infantry and what they can do, it seems to me anyway. But we'll get to them at a later date because they aren't really much better than the Misty Mountains Orcs at all. So we'll get to picking an army composition now, and because of the amount of money I have I will at least be able to use a lot of my best units, which is somewhat comforting. We won't be using the Balrog. I might do like a little mini episode right at the end where I talk through all the massively overpowered units, although there won't be very many of them. There'll only be about 3. But yeah, I mean this can't be used in siege battles, so it just shows how powerful this guy really is. Anyways, of course our general will be in an Orc bodyguard unit, which is actually a pretty decent unit, but they just don't have enough men to make that count. To simulate the 2 trolls, we're of course going to have 2 cave trolls in our army, and we're going to have, I think we're going to try for 6 units of halberds. That should give us a very strong, well, at least a competitive front line against the forces we're going to be facing. As far as skirmishers go, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the rest of my army, I think it will just be heavy goblin infantry. Although this setup has left me, oh no, that's Orc bodyguard. This is heavy goblin infantry, which leaves me with a lot more. With this sort of setup I still have enough room for upgrades, despite the fact I've only used my best available units. I could use Warg Riders, but these guys are just crap compared to most other cav, and in melee they're not even that good against infantry. It's only off the charge they really do well, and you'd expect a wolf to be better in melee than a horse, but there you go. I could have also brought these guys. These javelins are kind of useful if you can use them right, but again their range is limited. They're likely to be shredded by archers, and Snaga, they break very very easily and they're just not durable enough. And as far as the other archer units go, these 2 units here are just not particularly fantastic. The basic goblin infantry is cheap and it does the work of being cannon fodder reasonably well, but it's honestly not that much cheaper than the heavy goblin infantry, which is actually half decent provided you can mass them like this. So I'm not going to bring siege this time because in this sort of situation it tends to be that I'm doing more damage to myself than the enemy. But I think we'll upgrade the trolls and my general unit with better weapons and armour, and we'll give the halberds at least better armour. It's actually very cheap to make them upgraded. In fact, we may as well try and upgrade all our troops with better weapons and armour. I think we're going to be able to afford it. Maybe put some chevrons on the trolls and the general. The Misty Mountains' one saving grace is that they can do this. It's not so expensive to be able to afford all their best units, which means you might just be able to overwhelm. But Mordor can do that as well, and Mordor have more options than the Misty Mountains in general. So I don't know, I wish there was something more than the Balrog that was unique about them. because then they could have, I mean, I don't know, something like, they don't even have troll catapults, which I find very odd. But, you know, I'm not a huge lore buff on Lord of the Rings, but surely there is a way to give the Misty Mountains some form of better unit. Anyway, that is our army. We have got a full stack. We have lots of skirmishers and we have lots of halberds, so we should be able to hold the line better than we did with Rohan. Although we don't have any cav, which was what won the battle when I was Rohan, so we'll see. We're on the Misty Mountains map, of course. Although it looks like, unfortunately, they've got the mountainous side. I'd like to be over there, really. Right. So that over there is going to be the elves. They're going to be the smaller army, so I want to deploy further over here if at all possible. Okay, let's deploy sort of here, in the middle of Eriador and Rohan. So first things first, we want our line of halberds to be long and thin. Actually, you know what, we're probably going to be okay with 4 at the front, 2 sort of curving in, mainly because of how many there are. Is that going to be good enough? That divot there worries me a bit. We've got to use every advantage we have if we're going to be successful here. Okay, yeah. So we'll have another unit here like so. They are going to have a pretty difficult time getting through the halberd line, not because they're good, but because there are so many of them. Right, you guys all need to be in skirmish mode. I mean guard mode. Skirmish mode is something we're going to need to turn off, otherwise the archers have a tendency of roaming around doing weird things. Right, the archers can come off skirmish mode, but they can fire at will. I'm not fussy with what they target, to be honest. It's not like the enemy have got a super high amount of elite infantry. And then, right, well, to sort of reinforce the line, just in case, I'll have 3 units of infantry here. I'll also have a unit of infantry there, and a unit of infantry here. My general can be sort of right at the back here, and actually we'll be able to have a neat formation here because we can have a troll on either side ready to reinforce whenever needed, and I believe that is everything. Okay. So I believe the army that's going to be most problematic will probably be Eriador, merely because of their numbers. They've got a lot of militia units to pad out their better units, like their merchant militia and their battle ready Dunedain. I mean, I do kind of like the look of the Misty Mountains orcs. Like, they do look kind of, I don't know, kind of cool in a sort of rough and ready sort of way. Whereas Mordor look a little bit natty in a kind of just straight up bad kind of way, even though Mordor are better than the Misty Mountains. So let's see here. That's pretty cool. They don't seem too eager to engage me right from the off. The unit quality is a little low, but then I have to set it for this for multiplayer, because otherwise it crashes when there are lots of players. Right, so are they going to get into range of my archers? They're going to send up their Greenway guards first? That's a bit of a strange one. The problem with setting up like this in a real battle, of course, is that artillery and archers can just pick you to pieces. Traditionally you'd have your archers at the front in loose formation, trying to coax your opponent in. But in this situation we don't need to. Unfortunately for me, these archers don't have the best range, but this does mean that they will be quite close and bunched together when they do start firing, so in this situation it might play into my hands. The elves seem to be making pretty good time, actually. Don't know if I'm going to be able to win this. Misty Mountains, like Mordor, are not a faction which do well in this sort of situation, because they're usually the ones that are trying to overwhelm the enemy, not the other way around. But we'll see. Looks like Eriador is going to throw caution to the wind and move in first, with Rohan just in behind. The elves will arrive a little bit later. I haven't given the high elves some of their high tier units, of course, otherwise they will just make mincemeat of my my infantry. Are my archers going to begin firing soon? At this point the elves would have already been firing, so it gives you some idea as to the range of these archers, which is not great, but they do have heavy armour, which is something worth celebrating. The cave trolls are going to be key here. I need to use them wisely though, because the problem with cave trolls is, while they do a lot of damage, they're nowhere near as survivable as the Olag High. Nor is the snow trolls, which is something else which Gundabad have in their favour, but we'll get to them eventually. Right, my archers are now all firing down on the enemy. Are they going to try and wrap around, or are they just going to go into my halberds? And my archers have got a brilliant position back here to just spray down at the enemy. They're going to get a lot of kills. It's whether or not my halberd line can hold off the horde, which I kind of doubt. I mean, they're ready for battle. Right, here they come. These arrows don't do a great deal of damage either. Like, they're not the best archers in the world, but they are... I mean, we're getting friendly fire from somewhere. Which unit is it? This one. Ah, I see. Right, you guys actually should shoot over here. Right, it looks like these guys are just going to charge on in. So, I mean, we might be able to flank around with a unit of heavy goblin infantry. We're getting a bit of friendly fire, which is kind of unfortunate. But we should be doing a fair amount of damage to them also. Balance of forces is evenly matched. I'm getting too much friendly fire, I fear. I just need to shoot things that are further away and whittle them down before they get into... well, that unit of Yawling Militia is broken. Going to surround on this flank, because it looks like they're trying to pack this flank a little bit more heavily. Right, you guys need to get into melee over there. Those Yawling Axemen are routing. Right, get in there. Break this unit. Damn, we have routed a lot of Rohan's army already. Right, those guys are routing as well. So you guys can pull out before those swordsmen come for you. Seems like they're coming up in waves. Actually, turn around. Charge in. Right, what's going on this flank? This flank looks decidedly less fantastic. Jesus. I'm doing more damage to myself at the moment. Ah, right, the elves are here. Okay. I think the time has come to deploy a unit of trolls if the elves are over here. Honestly, I've done much better than I thought I was going to. That's, I mean, not entirely unexpected. Right, you get into the merchant militia. You just get over here and start going to town. We'll bring our general over here just to kind of reinforce. Victory seems certain. Yawling Militia. Rohan do have units of Royal Guard here and there, I believe. Yeah, there's a unit of Royal Guard. They're not in yet, though. That must be his general. The Merchant Militia are a pretty good unit. Man, I've done much better than I thought I was going to. I'll bring over a unit of trolls and a unit of heavy goblin infantry. In fact, I'm going to bring over another unit of heavy goblin infantry, see if I can't wrap around. I'll keep my halberds in this sort of position. In fact, I'll bring them up to here. The archers are running out of ammo. That's something else worth mentioning. These archers don't seem to have a lot of ammo at all. Sword Quindy. Maybe I was too mean on giving the enemies some better units. Maybe I should have given the elves some more. I mean, I've given Eriador and Rohan access to some of their more elite units, but then they don't have the best elite units, so... Okay. Swing out here, trolls. They're going to charge into my halberds. I have done very well, actually. Alright, my general can charge in over there. Looks like my trolls are starting to fall, so I mean... Still got reserve infantry as well. Although my my archers have now ran out of ammo. Or run out of ammo, I should say. Once again, the spearmen are breaking, militia are breaking, axemen are breaking. The Royal Guard are being committed though. I think I'll move up here. What are these? Greenway Guards. Okay, well this is a nice target to go after actually. Because there's a fair amount of them, so I'll send my trolls in. I'll charge these guys into them. Move up a unit of reserve heavy goblin infantry. Right, I'll move over a unit of infantry over here because it does look like the elves are putting up more resistance than the other factions, which is to be expected. Those axemen are just sort of waiting near my halberd line. Victory is a distinct possibility, so we should probably get some heavy goblin infantry in there to help our trolls. My general unit is taking some casualties, which is perhaps not the best news. We'll charge in a unit of infantry. Because my archers do have some decent ammo. I mean armour, rather, not ammo. Their ammo's terrible, but they do have some armour, so that means when you throw them into melee, they'll still largely just be meat shields, but they'll be meat shields that at least don't fall over and die immediately. Looks like we're breaking a unit here. Are we? Yes, we are. Greenway Guards. Breland Militia flanking in. Let's kill those Yawling Swordsmen. Oh, they're retreating. Kill those Axemen instead then. This part of the line, halberds are still engaged, although it's hobbits, Rohan spearmen, some swordsmen, which seem to be doing a pretty decent job because they're in the gap between the halberds. Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll charge in a unit of archers to try and plug that gap. This unit can charge into the Greenway Guards. Attack the Sword Quindy. What's going on over here? Huh. Well, the trolls have made... Oh my god, we're pursuing them all over the place. Attack those hobbits. Attack the Royal Guard. Right, in fact, the Royal Guard is something our trolls need to target because they're a tough cookie. More Breland Militia. These guys are getting surrounded, although victory still seems certain for them. Gonna bring out another unit of infantry, I think. Heavy Goblin Archers are doing a good job against the Linden Long Spears. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been troubled at all. Which surprises me, honestly. Right, actually, you guys can charge out. Finish off that Royal Guard. Don't think there's going to be any rhyme or reason to the attacking from here on out. In fact, we can bring forward our archer line, I think. Can begin the assault. Yeah, the Royal Guard are going to be doomed now. Battle ready Dunedain though. Defeat is almost a certainty for that unit over there, but they're holding and tying up an awful lot of units. So I'm okay with that for the moment. The lumbermen are charging. Is there anywhere where we could use our archers in melee? These battle ready Dunedain I imagine would be a good candidate for some reinforcements. That was my general, which is unfortunate because orcs tend to break easily. And yep, there go a unit. And it's them, I believe? No, they're still fighting. So who's panicking? Which unit is it? Oh, it's them. The ones that were fighting the battle ready Dunedain. You guys get in over here. Where are the battle ready Dunedain? Fight them. Attack the Linden long spears. Attack the Linden long spears. You get in over here. I don't think they're going to be able to break down my halberd line anyway. It's a shame my general fell though. Still some hobbitry in arms. They're beating down my archers. Oh, they broke. I don't know whether it was the presence of my halberds. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say the orcs are dreadful in all aspects, because in this sort of situation where you can sort of just use the simplicity of your army, just, you know, halberds, swords and archers to your advantage, you know, you're going to do very well because of the sheer number of your troops. Let's end the battle and see how well each individual unit did. Well, the archers are where all the kills are going to be, because in melee the orcs aren't generally going to have the same level of joy as the other types of factions, like the Easterlings and the Kingdoms of Men. 454 on this unit here. The trolls didn't get as many kills. Usually they'd get a few more, but this time, because I don't know actually, I mean, why did the trolls not get more kills? I mean, I guess they did get a lot in comparison. The heavy goblin halberds got a lot where the line was thick. These units here, they didn't attack through the middle as much, so that's to be expected though. And yeah, honestly, I'm surprised that went as smoothly as it did. Interesting. Maybe I've just been playing the orcs wrong in multiplayer. Maybe I should be rethinking my strategies with them and not relying so much on their high end. Anyways, next I will be going back to the good factions, and I think the time has come to take a look at what is generally considered to be the most powerful faction in the mod, and that would be the dwarves. Not my favourite, but still I won't deny they are probably the most powerful. So I'll see you then.